Alright, how to plan your day properly. Now in the previous video, which I will link somewhere here, we spoke about there's an actual difference between morning people and night owls. And that's very important knowledge for this video. Because here's something really cool. If you put yourself and your brain under a scan throughout the day, you will actually see 3 changes in brain activity. So we can sort of identify 3 phases in the day for your brain. And we call these the peak, the trough, and the recovery. And what this means is that the peak is when you're super good at deep work, at focused work, right? It is when we have very little distractions and where no matter what happens, we'll just stay focused. The trough is the moment in the day where we're basically just useless, right? It's the moment in the day where we get distracted the whole time, where a lot of things actually go wrong. We make a lot of mistakes. And the recovery is when we are a bit more vigilant, but not as vigilant as in the peak. We're much more creative and we're pretty focused. Now this is why it's important to know whether you're a morning person or a night owl. So a morning person goes through the day starting with the peak, then you have the trough and then the recovery. If you're a night owl, you actually start with the recovery and then you will have your trough and then you will have the peak. Right? So let's go over this phase by phase and what you should be doing and how you can really become super productive and have really good days. So the peak, right? In the morning if you're a morning person and in the evening if you're a night owl. We were really focused and good at deep and analytic work. So for example, I know a lot of you actually run a digital marketing agency. So you might have to analyze ads, right? You have to be analytic, you have to be focused. And this is the moment where you're gonna be doing this. It is also the reason why if you are a morning person, it's really good to get up really early in the morning. To get up at 5:30. Because we want to have this deep work, we are at the best of our day, and I don't know anyone who would call me at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., right? If I get up at 9 and start working at 10, quite some friends of mine might be texting me in group chats or whatever, so it's much easier to get distracted. So that's the reason why if you're a morning person, you want to have your peak in the morning, in the beginning of your day, get up quite early. Now if you're a night owl, right, this is in the evening, and that's much more challenging. Because at around 8 p.m., 9 p.m., when you are best at focused work as a night owl, your phone is going to be ringing, people are going to be texting, and a lot of things happen. There's so many distractions. So if you have your peak in the evening, make sure to put your phone away. Go sit in a place where there's no distractions, right? For example, if I work here, there's a window over there, but there's nothing here. There's nothing that's distracting me. So it's even best to have your own space and don't have a PlayStation or a TV or anything in that room. So that's very important for night owls, but in general, right, if you want to do your deep focused work. So then we go to the trough, and the trough is after lunch. Now a lot of people think that we have our after dinner dip, which is why we go so low on energy. And even though this is a bit true, especially if you are very high on carbs in what you eat, even though this is true, you will actually find out that no matter, even if you don't eat, you're gonna have your shitty period. Our body temperature rises in the afternoon, especially between 1 and 4 p.m., and we start losing focus. If you look into the road, most car accidents actually happen during 2 and 4 p.m., right? Even it's not the busiest time in the day, but that's when most accidents happen, when we fuck up the most. So if you do deep focused work, you will actually find out that if you try that, you keep getting distracted, you keep getting your phone and going on Instagram, or you're watching videos like this one, for example, which is happening in the afternoon. So what I like to do is, on my phone, all of these apps are actually blocked during between 1 and 4 p.m. Right? You can do this with something called Freedom, for example, an app, because I know how easy it is to get distracted. But I also make sure that I don't do any deep work. What I do is I do admin work. I reply to all the emails. I reply to text messages, which I've been ignoring throughout the day. I do maybe a bit of very boring admin work, file expense reports or whatever. Something that doesn't require a lot of attention, but which needs to be done. And then we get the recovery. So again, if you're a night owl, this is in the morning. And if you are a morning person, this is in the evening. And it's when we become very creative. Now, you probably notice that if you are a morning person, how sometimes you're in bed and all of a sudden you have all these great ideas coming into your head, in your mind. And some people say you should always have pen and paper next to your bed to write down these great ideas. And it's actually because in the evening we become creative, but we can only really become creative if we are not as busy, if we're not flying around. So what a lot of people do in the evening, they're with friends, they're watching TV, whatever they're doing, so your mind has no place to put all this creativity away. And then what happens, we go to bed, we finally relax and calm down, and all of a sudden we have these ideas. So in the evening, right, what I like to do is throughout the day you will run into issues, right? I don't know how to solve this problem. I have to create a new ad, but I don't know, it's hard to be creative. I just write them down throughout the day, and then in the evening I have an hour, hour and a half, no distractions again, and I just try and solve these problems. If you're a night owl, write down during the day all your problems, but then the next morning you're going to be fixing it. Think about the things that you have to do, right? So what I can actually see is that if we schedule our days according to this peak trough recovery, we become about 20% more productive. And if you think about it, if you can do 20% more every single day just by planning your day in a way which makes sense, that's huge, right? And even more so, you don't get frustrated because you're trying to do deep work in the afternoon and you're failing and you feel like shit, right? So that's very, very important. Now, let's go over a couple of examples to see when you should be doing this and why. So, for example, reading. If you know, I love to read. I read a shit ton, but except for the fact that you get knowledge in, and which I believe is very important, our main asset is actually knowledge. Reading brings blood to certain parts of your brain, which are good for memory and focus. Right? So if you know this, right, it only makes sense to start reading in the morning, because then throughout the day, our memory and focus will be better, right? Going to the gym. Now, exercising has a lot of benefits, and sure, you can go to the gym for all the aesthetics and everything, but actually there's other great benefits to exercising. For example, again, your brain goes into something like a fly or flee mode, because you're basically harming yourself, which releases it releases dopamine and other chemicals inside of your brain, which means that you are, when you go to the gym, you all of a sudden feel happier. You are, again, more focused, which is why it actually makes sense to go to the gym in the morning. However, if you purely go for aesthetics, you might want to go a bit later when your body is all fired up. So for example, I go to the gym at 6 a.m. every morning, just so I can reach more peak performance throughout the day, be more focused, have more energy. So I don't go over the limit, because I want to have a lot of energy. Writing a to-do list, that's another thing. Now, creating a to-do list is very important. And you actually have to use pen and paper, old school pen and paper, to write a to-do list. First of all, because it feels great to be able to cross something off. That just feels great. And secondly, the reason why you need a to-do list is because we want to stay focused. So if you're a night owl, in the morning, which is when you're creative, you're going to think about, these are the things I have to do, right? Write them down and structure them according to the peak trough recovery. If you're a morning person, you're going to do this in the evening. So just before going to bed, write down your to-do list for the next day, because that's when you're creative again. And then in the morning, you don't have to waste time making these decisions. And as a last example, something that I think everyone must do, but there's actually going to be a video about this very soon, is meditate. Now, there's so many proven reasons why you have to meditate, which I won't go into now, but it especially helps us focus. Again, it increases our memory, it increases our focus. So make sure to meditate in the morning, and your whole day will be a lot more productive. So I guess step one is figure out whether you're a night owl or a morning person, right? If you haven't watched the previous video, I actually explain it in there how you can figure this out. And then start planning your days according to this structure, right? Night owl, start creative work, then your admin work, then deep work. Morning person, start with deep work, then your basically admin work, and then your creative work. And make sure you incorporate as many things in the morning, your morning routine and your evening routine, because here's the thing. We only have certain brain capacity to make choices during the day. So if you have to decide in the morning what I'm going to do today, and every single choice, you're going to get something which is called decision fatigue. So make sure that you have your fixed routine. I don't have to think. I get up, I know exactly what I have to do for the first 3 hours. I don't have to waste any energy thinking about it. And that's just a nice way to kick off your day. Plan your day is good, write it down, and you're going to see you're going to be a lot more productive. And another thing, that just motivates. If you're more productive, you're really happy, it motivates, you're going to go to that next level. And that's, at the end of the day, what we want to reach. So really try it out. Let me know how it goes. And if you think this is valuable, please do subscribe and leave a like. It really helps me a lot. And I will see you in a couple of days.